What's the nicest thing someone has ever done for you? Someone paid for the first 3 months of my rent at my first house. My dad had died a month before that, and the funeral director wanted to help me out. When I was a kid I met one of my grandmother's best friends. At first I was super scared to approach him, because he had a wheelchair. But after I got to know him, we instantly bonded. He was exactly 50 years older than me, same birthday, and also loved Harry Potter. During that summer, he would take me to see the movies, Nemo, Spider-Man, Spy Kids, and treat me to ice cream at back afterwards. He'd always get lemon and blue bubblegum. Growing up, we were pretty poor, so those trips meant a lot to me. Looking back, we had a pretty special friendship. He was my best friend, my mentor and my role model for most of my life. He had a huge impact on my life and I never think I was able to thank him enough for it. I was hit by a car and a stranger sat with me until the EMTs arrived. I never got his name. He left before the police got there. I looked for his face in crowds, but never saw him again. He kept me calm. I didn't feel alone. I mentioned to my friend that I loved the song Lava in Rose and that it would be cool to have in a music box. So many months later she got it for me for Christmas. After a really hard year, my 2 closest friends and my mum said they were taking me to London for my birthday. Bizarrely they wanted to fly, and since I only lived in Liverpool that seemed odd. It wasn't until the airport, when I heard a security guard read the ticket as Liverpool to Barcelona that I clicked. They took me to the opera, the magic fountains and Las Ramblas. There's like a million pictures of me constantly crying in happiness from that trip. It was just so kind to go to so much trouble, just to cheer me up. I had a friend in high school buy me lunch whenever I didn't have enough money. He did it without even expecting anything in return. The nicest guy I've ever known. My dad very unexpectedly died. 2 or 3 days after the death, our doorbell rang. It was our neighbor delivering a surprise KFC dinner for us. I found it extremely thoughtful, and at that time knowing somebody cared about us brought my spirits up a bit. My wife is helping me survive cancer, and it isn't any fun I can assure you. When my grandmother died, my friend would FaceTime me when I couldn't sleep and tell me bedtime stories. Our safe word was pineapple. If she said that, and I didn't answer, she knew I was sleeping, and she could hang up. It might have been a little thing for her, but it made a huge difference for me. I just started driving, maybe had my license for a week. Went to go fill up gas for the first time. Realized I never learned how to fill up a car. A guy saw me struggling for about 10 minutes and he walked over, pulled out his credit, and showed me what to do. Ended up paying for my gas and teaching me a lesson. Never got his name or anything. She bought my full cart of groceries. I had been out of work and struggling, and had saved up enough money to get about a month of groceries if I bought plain food in bulk. She got me frozen veggies and fruits, fresh meat, rice, beans, cheese, so much food. My parents adopted me. In high school my English teacher hugged me. She hated hugs and told me she believed in me, and a malicious side of me disappeared that day. I still recall it vividly, but it's oddly wonderful how a little belief and positive word can impact someone. I think she inspired my passion for reading honestly. Fresh out of a relationship, left me with almost nothing. My college roommate offered me a place to stay. When I showed up without any furniture he immediately went and found a bed, sheets, etc. and set me up basically with a makeshift bedroom. I swallowed my young man pride and hugged him. I remember telling him I'd never ask for help again. He simply said anything for a brother. He probably doesn't remember that night, but I'll never forget it. I've helped 4 people with places to stay to get back on their feet over the years, and it honestly humbles me anytime I help a friend in need because of him. We were on our honeymoon and didn't have a lot of money, but we managed to afford to stay at our favorite inn in our favorite coastal town. Someone found out we were new liwats and anonymously paid for our stay. I plan on paying it forward at that same place one day. I talked to this dude whom I barely knew after class one day during my first year in college. I told him that I live alone and have been eating cereals for the last 2 days in a joking manner, because I didn't have time to go grocery shopping due to the exams. He brought me 2 plates of delicious butter chicken with rice the next morning. He said his parents run an Indian restaurant, so he brought some for me. He told me I can ask for more whenever. That was the first time anyone outside of my family has gone out of their way to do a nice thing for me. It really touched my heart. Unfortunately, he dropped out a few weeks later, but I will remember him forever. My dog was sick. He was crying all night for the past 3 days. I don't know if he had a broken bone or something. I created a post here in Reddit asking for help of what can I do or what he could have. I couldn't afford a vet because of the hard situation of Venezuela, lack of food, health, security etc. But a college student like me sent me $15 to go to a vet, and that's what I did. And now the dog is fine equals. I'm not one to make a fuss over my birthday. I didn't want to make a big deal and I don't like putting people out. We were walking back to mine and I said, let's just go to the movies. I wasn't aware that my best friend had organized for 15 of my other friends to hide in my bedroom and jump out at me when we got home. My neighbor, who is now 79, handed me a birthday card I gave from when I was 3. She didn't have grandchildren and told me I was perfect enough for her. I went home and cried. Literal, no one has ever done anything or even cared about me that for that long. Not even my own parents. When I was a senior in high school, my band was going on a trip out of state to go skiing. I had moved a lot as a kid. Aside from going to that high school at 2 disjunct periods of time, it held the longest amount of my education. I hadn't been able to go on any of the band trips though. I had to work to pay my own way. I had problems with my mom and her stepdad and hadn't yet fully forgiven my dad. I had my own bills that I was responsible for. I could never afford to go on one of the band trips. All of a sudden, about a week and a half away from the trip, my band director pulls me aside. He asks me if I want to go on the ski trip. I responded something to the effect of not being able to afford it. He cut me off, saying that's not what he asked. Obviously I told him I wanted to go. Turns out some benefactor saw some of what was going on getting ill behind the curtains in my life. They were, and still are to this day, anonymous to me, but they footed the bill for my charter ticket, food money, and ski gear money. I cried. I just started crying right there in the band director's office. It was great for me. My best friend ended up getting altitude sickness. Edit. RIP my inbox. I think it's great that so many people got to experience similar events. I think it helps to show that people are good all over, especially band directors. When my son was 5 weeks old, he was diagnosed with a terminal disease. We did not expect him to live to see his first birthday. We were told there were clinical trials, but no approved treatment. Letting a little baby be experimented on after he had already suffered so much seemed cruel and I was not interested. We were sitting in the waiting room at the specialist's office talking with the hospice social worker. It was really busy and we had been waiting for a while when there was an emergency with another patient that delayed things further. A doctor I had never met came out to the lobby and said she had to talk to us right away. She said we didn't have all the information needed to make a decision. We were very skeptical, in shock and traumatized, truly. She spent a long time explaining an experimental procedure they were doing at this hospital, the results they had seen so far, etc. There was one spot left in the clinical trial and she wanted us to have it. We decided to go forward with the procedure and next week my son will turn 3. He is developmentally typical in every area except for gross motor function and we expect to have many happy years ahead. She chased after me with an umbrella and then walked with me so I wouldn't get wet in the heavy rain. This happened like 5 years ago and I still smile at the memory. Some friends and I were road tripping through Nevada when my car breaks down in Barstow on a Sunday evening. The mechanic shop we took it to eventually narrowed it down to a bad alternator, but by then it was closing time. By all accounts, Barstow was not a place you want to be stranded, especially at night. But the mechanic shop is closing, and it's actually illegal there to get work done on your car anywhere but at a mechanic shop. We were stuck. One of the guys at the shop pulled me aside and told me to meet him at the auto parts store up the road. We got to jump and limp the half mile or so to the store, which just happened to have our alternator in stock. The friendly mechanic got to work tearing out the guts of my poor broken car. As if that weren't enough, the folks in the store were sympathetic and let us test, read, use whatever tools we needed, in addition to bringing out some chairs and free sodas for us. The manager hung out with us, telling stories of her life in Barstow until she had to lock up and leave. She asked us to just put the tools and flashlights in an unlocked car in the lot when we were done. In the end, it took the guy about 3 hours* to fix the car. He refused payment in cash or the nice bottle of whiskey we had. I finally convinced him to let me buy him a tool he picked out, to the tune of maybe $15. I don't remember their names, but the mechanic and the lady running the store really teamed up to show us how it's done. It was a real today you, tomorrow me event that I still think about a lot. Note for car people, this was a mid-2000s Honda, so you basically had to take off everything around the serpentine belt to get to the alternator. Real pain in the ass, time consuming work. TL, Dr. Nevada mechanic breaks the law, teams up with another stranger to teach a lesson in generosity. My daughter painted me a picture for my birthday. Me and the pups, both present and that crossed the rainbow bridge, enjoying nature. Just a simple thoughtful gift, and more meaningful because she is at that rebellious stage where I'm no longer her favorite person. Last year for my 24th birthday, 4 of my best friends and I rented a cabin up in the mountains to celebrate for the whole weekend. Just having them set aside time and money for my birthday trip meant so much to me, but they went beyond that. 2 of them managed to get me out of the cabin for a few hours, while the other 2 stayed behind, just to cook our dinner. I thought. I came back to a fully decorated cabin with balloons and confetti everywhere, my favorite cake, champagne, and Bruno Mars 24K Magic playing as I walked in. I felt so loved. It was Christmas Eve. My mom was broke. I knew Christmas would be ***TTY. I was fortunate to have an older lady friend at the local drugstore diner. I ran down to the shop to help her clean, or serve, or whatever. I was 9. I think I earned about $1 that evening, enough to get my mom a cheap lipstick. As I walked home, there was a Christmas tree seller packing up his tent. He hollered to me, "Do you want a tree?" I told him I had no money and he explained the leftovers were going to the dump anyway. "Pick one. It's free." I picked out the finest tree he had left, which was a 4-foot version of a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, and dragged it home. I leaned that tree up in the corner of our living room, with a small tube of cheap lipstick underneath, and swore to myself I will never be this poor again. I fell asleep to the scent of pine. A random lady paid for my group of 8 or so college students' sushi order once. Was somewhere around $250 to $300 before the tip. Never really saw her, but I think of it randomly sometimes when I'm pissed off in traffic, and it makes me happy. When I couldn't pay for rent, my roommate told his parents and they helped me pay for 2 months rent. Never asked for anything back. Helped me stay in college. Not something someone did, but said. It was recent, so it sticks out. One of my co-workers, out of nowhere, said, "Have I ever told you that you are my favorite person in city?" The city qualification made it seem even more genuine, since she's been here 3 years and moved from her hometown. I've known her maybe 6 months or so. I didn't know how to respond. Made my month for sure. Goes to show that something that may seem small to you can really mean a lot to someone else. I got hurt at work and had to take a huge pay cut while on disability. My own father wouldn't help lend me money, so I thought I was gonna lose my house and everything. I got a call that same day from my stepdad, who heard I was out of work, saying he sent me a check in the mail and that if I pay him back it's fine, or if I don't it's fine. It was $3,000. Helped me in more ways than my own father. My grandmother and I were very close. She helped raise me. I have had fertility issues for years, which she had helped me through. After a very difficult year of going through IVF, I was finally expecting my first child. My grandmother had been keeping very close track of the pregnancy because of all we had gone through to make this miracle happen. She was so excited to meet her newest great grandson. I ended up getting married at City Hall. when I was 4 months pregnant. She would have been thrilled about our marriage, but before I could even tell her the happy news, I received a phone call that she had passed away the very next day. It was one of the worst days of my life, right after one of the happiest days of my life. I miss her every day. Unbeknownst to my new husband and I, my cousin's daughter went over to my grandparents' home and retrieved a few of grandma's old shirts. She then proceeded to have them made into a teddy bear for our unborn son, so that he could always have a bit of grandma close to him, even though they were never able to meet. I broke down and bawled my eyes out when that little bear arrived in the mail. It means the world to me. Our son is due to arrive 1 week from today. I never knew a teddy bear could hold such a special place in my heart. That is the most thoughtful gesture I've ever witnessed. I will be forever grateful to her for this sweet and wonderful gift. My husband was being a dick to me in public once. Our mutual friend, who was more his friend, said, "Hey, I don't like how you are talking to your wife." There was a back and forth. My husband's friend was super respectful and reserved under the circumstances. It was so kind of him to risk the friendship to say it. I thanked him. My husband cut off all ties with him. Thank you, Alex. I hate my husband. 3 weeks ago it was revealed that the girlfriend had planned not one, but 2 surprise birthday events, an escape room and a meal out. She'd gathered all my friends from D&D and university along with our couple friends, and paid for everything. She'd been planning this for 3 months. I love her to pieces. Had a few friends stand up for me in high school when people were physically threatening me. I was small, and I'll never forget that feeling of someone willing to fight to defend me. I try to repay that favor every time I see someone being a dick to somebody. A group of colleagues in another department heard I was leaving my job, having been refused a promotion and raise to reach parity with my immediate coworkers. I had accepted a position doing less and earning more with another organization. In response, this group of colleagues actually petitioned and successfully caused their boss to intervene by creating a position for me in their department and convincing his superiors to offer me beyond the top end of the salary range for that position, beyond most of their salaries. It was very hard to go back to the people whose job I had already accepted and tell them I had to withdraw my acceptance of their offer, but the outlandish nature of the circumstances helped. The whole thing changed my life dramatically, and I have never had a better job than I have with the people who went to such length to make me a part of their team. Pretty amazing. I had a $2,000 plus hospital bill after I was raped and couldn't pay it. My friends put together an anonymous fundraiser by having a pub crawl at our favorite iconic local pub. They got another friend to design t-shirts and sold them for profit. They raised enough money for me to pay my bill. They kept the tradition alive the next year and donated to the local women's shelter in my honor. Recently my husband, son and I made the trip from Australia to Canada to visit my family and friends. My father bought our plane tickets and my mother bought my son enough clothes for this summer and the following autumn. My mother-in-law picked us up from the airport, helped us get our 4 suitcases and a very grumpy toddler into her truck, drove us home, and then helped us unpack a little, ordered us pizza, and then bathed, and put our son to bed. I adore my family. Make sure to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching.